The White House dialing back President Trump's own words today. The president calling several Democrats in Congress, most of them veterans, traitors in a post, and then in another post saying this is punishable by death after they put out a video telling service members they can refuse, quote, illegal orders. The White House was asked, in this environment, what is the president suggesting? Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, President Trump criticized by members of both parties after calling 6 Democratic members of Congress, quote, traitors, and accusing them of seditious behavior punishable by death.
Representative.
It came in response to video released by the lawmakers, all of whom served in the military or in U.S. intelligence.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
In the video, the lawmakers reminding members of the military they should not obey illegal orders.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution.
The lawmakers did not specify which orders they were talking about, but the president enraged, posting a flurry of messages on social media saying they should be arrested and put on trial. Their words cannot be allowed to stand, adding, an example must be set. The president then writing, seditious behavior punishable by death. And he reposted a message from another account that said, hang them. George Washington would. Democrats accusing the president of inciting violence.
This puts all of our lives in jeopardy, right? What are we all doing right now? Democrats in the Congress are on the phone with their chiefs of staff, beefing up our security for this weekend and next week, because the president has a lot of unhinged supporters out there.
Republicans clearly uncomfortable.
The words that the president chose are not the ones that I would use, okay? Obviously, I don't think that these are crimes punishable by death or any of that, okay?
Republican Senator Rand Paul was blunt.
That kind of rhetoric isn't good and stirs up people among us who may not be stable, who may think, well, traitors, what do we do with traitors? It's a death penalty. Maybe I'll just take matters into my own hands, which is not something we should be encouraging.
At the White House, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked to explain.
Just to be clear, does the president want to execute members of Congress?
No. Let's be clear about what the president is responding to.
Leavitt saying the 6 Democrats are the ones inciting violence.
They are literally saying to 1.3 million active duty service members not to defy the chain of command.
I spoke with Congressman Jason Crow, a former Army Ranger who was in that video.
What would your message to the president be?
I don't do fear and intimidation well, and I'm not going to stop.
In that video, Democrats cited what they called threats to the Constitution, insisting that the Trump administration is pitting our military against American citizens, but they did not provide any specific examples. Congressman Crow telling me they felt the need to start a conversation after the president made what he called disturbing statements.
The president of the United States just called for Democratic members of Congress to be executed. This is not normal. We cannot allow this to feel normal. This, as far as I know, has never happened before in the history of the country. Every Democratic member of the Senate and the House, their life is in jeopardy right now, especially those that were specifically targeted by this social media post. Democratic senators and House members who were simply saying that no member of the military should act illegally or in violation of the Constitution. The President of the United States just called for members of Congress to be executed. If you are a person of influence in this country, maybe it's time to pick a fucking side. If you are a Republican in Congress, if you are a Republican governor, maybe it's time to draw a line in the sand and say that under no circumstances should the President of the United States be calling on his political opposition to be hanged. We are at a very dangerous moment right now. The president is engaged in the wholesale incitement, endorsement, and rationalization of political violence in this country. This is a very slippery slope that we are on. This is a moment for people to step up, for Republicans to step up, for business leaders to step up. Anybody who has a voice or a soapbox in this country needs to draw a line in the sand and say that it is not acceptable for the President of the United States to call on the murder of his political opposition.
Hello, True Verdict family. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all doing well today. Before we begin, let's take a moment, sit back, relax, grab your coffee, and get comfortable because what we are going to discuss today is serious and important for every American. Need to hear this clearly. Credit to the stitches and clip used for this documentary.
President Trump this morning seemed to be calling for the death of some of his political opponents, their execution. At 10:21 this morning, he wrote, quote, seditious behavior punishable by death. He's talking about a handful of House and Senate Democrats with background in the military and the intelligence community and the national security community who put out a video saying that any members of the military or intelligence communities who are handed down illegal orders from their superiors should not carry out illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
True. You shouldn't carry out illegal orders. You shouldn't carry out anything illegal. You shouldn't break the law. President Trump is now accusing these people of sedition. President Trump has been really pushing this on social media in ways that are rather inflammatory. Hang them. George Washington would. That's right. The president actually reposted a tweet that said, hang them. This comes, by the way, in the midst of a week where President Trump is displaying all sorts of rather unusual behavior. Obviously, he's not happy about the release of the Epstein files. When a woman reporter asked him about that, he said, quiet, piggy. When another woman reporter, one I used to work with, who's a great reporter, Mary Bruce, asked questions about both the Epstein files and also about Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who was in the Oval Office, and the fact that our own intelligence community says that MBS ordered the murder of a Washington Post journalist named Jamal Khashoggi. President Trump got mad at the reporter for asking about it because he said it would be impolite to MBS. And then he started criticizing the victim of the murder, Khashoggi. He's also, of course, calling for late night comedians who he doesn't like to be fired. It is all a wild melange of strange behavior. And we should not become numb to this. This is not normal behavior from a president. And in fact, when you start calling people traitors and when you start saying that people should be hanged, in this climate where there is all this violence against political figures, including against President Trump, that's wildly irresponsible.
What has it meant for you to have the president say this about you, to call you seditious and treasonous and to repost someone calling for you to be hanged?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it more than the six of us who filmed the video, it's really just a sad moment in American politics. I mean, we know that, but, you know, today it really came home for many of us. And I think for the six of us that filmed this, you know, we swore an oath to the Constitution many times before we got to Congress. What we were citing was literally chapter and verse from the UCMJ, the Military Code of Justice. And I think his reaction just is, you know, characteristic of a political system that no one is proud of right now.
Does something like this change your security situation? We heard Marjorie Taylor Greene talk about that last week. You're nodding your head. I mean, this has very tangible effects. I've seen and with other lawmakers in somewhat analogous situations.
Yeah, I mean, look, over the years, I've had threats here and there. It was instantaneous. I mean, hundreds, if not at this point, thousands of calls, emails, texts, obviously online postings. Capitol Police came to us and said, you know, we're going to put you on 24/7 security. We've got law enforcement out in front of my house. I mean, it changes things immediately. And leadership climate is set from the top. And if president is saying you should be hanged, then we shouldn't be surprised when folks on the ground are going to follow suit and say even worse.
Trump is now calling for Democrats to be executed, not censured, not defeated, not voted out, killed. OK, and it all started with this video of Democrats, including veterans, warning U.S. service members, you should be prepared not to follow an unlawful order from Donald Trump. Not ignore anything Trump says. Okay, this is like a critical thing. Not ignore anything Trump says. If there is an unlawful order, you should be prepared not to follow it. Here's what they had to say.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
Like us. You all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard
and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
This is the message, the direct message from these members of Congress that set Trump off in the following way. Trump posting to Truth Social in response to this message, quote, "This is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up." And then Trump following that up with another post, seditious behavior punishable by death. Now, not that the facts really matter to a lot of these people, but the maximum punishment under the actual sedition statute is 20 years. It doesn't actually include death, but who cares? The more important part is that these Democrats are correct. Members of the military are legally required to refuse certain orders. If you look at Article 92 of the UCMJ, the Code of Military Justice, and longstanding military law, they must not obey orders that, number one, clearly violate U.S. law or the Constitution. For example, if the president says to the troops, start massacring civilians, or orders summary executions, or orders the military to overturn an election, those are clearly illegal orders. And the Code of Military Justice says those orders should not be followed. These lawmakers are correct. Trump is wrong. If the president makes an order that is outside of his or her authority, like commanding state National Guard units without proper federalization, by the way, Trump has done it, or ordering the military to violate posse comitatus, they're supposed to say no. If the president orders troops to violate international law, for example, something that violates the Geneva Convention or the War Crimes Act or the International Law of Armed Conflict, they are supposed to say no. And one of the things that we now understand is that service members who obey unlawful orders can be criminally liable. Courts for decades, especially after Nuremberg, have said I was simply following orders is not a defense for war crimes and for certain other crimes. So the Democrats who said do not follow illegal orders are not being seditious. They are telling us what is the law. And that is the law. Trump hears it and fantasizes about the execution of these members of the House and Senate. Forget about this is a normal political response.
So I want to start by condemning the president for calling for 6 Democratic members of Congress, all of whom are patriots and all of whom served our country in various national security roles, to be hanged. It's the kind of thing we expect from a Saudi crown prince, not an American president. In fact, the president is currently the biggest accelerant of political violence in our country today.
Yesterday, Donald Trump called for Democratic members of Congress to be arrested for seditious behavior and said that their actions were, quote, punishable by death, simply because they reminded service members of their obligation and oath to follow the Constitution. Donald Trump, a draft dodger, is obviously a weak and lawless crook who doesn't believe in that oath. But we veterans take it seriously, and so do our troops. Your oath is to the law, not to any one man. That is the foundational principle of our democracy. When Trump threatens lawmakers for stating that simple fact, that's not just incendiary rhetoric. It undermines our Constitution and our troops. Also, threatening the lives of members of Congress is in fact against the law. It should be no surprise that Trump is threatening lawmakers at the same time as he has ordered thousands of American service members to deploy to the Caribbean. When military lawyers at Southcom raised concerns about the legality of the Venezuela strikes, they were sidelined. There has been no authorization for the use of military force, no declaration of war, nothing. When the commander of Southcom raised concerns about the Venezuela strikes, he was sidelined. So put yourselves in the shoes of a young lieutenant or sergeant who's in uniform right now, watching the commander-in-chief threaten members of Congress to death for telling you to follow the law. You're watching him orchestrate legally dubious military strikes while sidelining military lawyers and commanders who say that those actions may be illegal and could therefore get you prosecuted for following those orders. You're watching him dare Congress to stop him. This is a dangerous mix, but some of us in Congress do intend to stop him.
Today, we are driving into a disturbing situation involving the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and his public call for the execution, yes, execution of Democrats who encourage our military to reject unlawful orders. These statements have shaken the political world, raised constitutional alarm bell, and sparked national debate about leadership, power, and the rule of law. Recently, Donald Trump took it to his platform, Truth Social, to respond to Washington Examiner article titled Democrat Veterans in Congress urge servicemen to refuse unspecified unlawful order. Instead of addressing the content responsibly, Trump called the statement bad and dangerous for our country, insisting that this word cannot be allowed to stand. But he didn't stop there. Trump then followed up with a second post claiming that such action amount to seditious behaviors punishable by death. And if that wasn't enough, he reposted a comment saying, "And them, George Washington would." These are not words of a leader defending democracy. These are words of someone willing to attack anyone who stands between him and unchecked power. Someone willing to threaten American citizens with death for insisting the military obey the Constitution instead of a man. Let's be clear. The U.S. military swear an oath to the Constitution, not to any president. Refusing unlawful order is not seditious, it's a duty. Yet, here we are, with a sitting president publicly endorsing violent punishment against members of other political parties for advocating constitutional obedience. This is dangerous. This is un-American. And this is exactly the type of behavior that Founder warns us about, and the slide from leadership to authoritarian. Republican leaders has remained silent. No condemnation, no pushback, no defense of the Constitution. And that silence says a lot. Americans must see this clearly, because if we ignore it, we risk normalizing behaviors that threaten the very foundation of our democracy. As we close today's documentary, let's take a moment to consider why this moment matter. America has always depended on one thing to survive: the idea that no person is above the law. Not a senator, not a judge, not a president. When any leader begins calling for execution, hanging, or death against political opponents, this is no longer politics. This is authoritarian language. That is the language of fear, not freedom. But there are solutions. There are ways to protect our democracy from sliding into darkness. Strengthening civilians' oversight of the military. Ensuring no president can weaponize armed force for personal power. Demand accountability. No matter the political party, leaders must face consequences for threatening democratic principles. Educate citizens on constitutional rights, especially the military responsibility to reject unlawful orders. Encourage political courage when leaders speak out, even when it is uncomfortable. Stay informed and vote, because democracy only survives when people participate. America is stronger when power is checked, when the constitution is respected, when citizens refuse to be silent. This moment, right now, is a reminder of why we must stay alert, stay united, and stay firm on democracy value. Because once authoritarian behavior becomes normal, it becomes unstoppable. Let us not wait for that point. Let us act, speak, and stay away before it's late. If you find value in this documentary, please like, share, and subscribe. Turn on your notification bell so you will never miss the next upload. Your engagement helps us to spread awareness and bring real truth to the people. Thanks.